I'm here. Give me 1 second. Ah, no, I just deleted it. Hang on, I gotta get myself set up. Forgive me. Oh, I gotta find it all over again. Darn it. Okay. Facebook, where are you? I'll be right there, guys. Give me 1 second. In the meantime, I want my HTV. I want it now. And I want it live. What I'm about to play for you is an interview that I did Tuesday evening with David Arthur and Vicki Joy. I am so humbled and honored and happy and pleased. I felt that this interview was very huge for me because there were things on my heart weighing me down about my own sexuality, and I feel comfortable talking to David Arthur and the congregants of his online ministry. I do not feel comfortable talking about these sexual issues with people. I don't. David Arthur and his ministry is the right person and the right atmosphere and the right ministry that Yud Hey Vav Hey led me to deal with these issues of sexuality. So without further ado, I am going to play this video for you. I want to remind everyone that I want to remind YouTube, not everyone. YouTube, I am in this video. That is my face, my voice, my testimony. This is not a copyright. This is my work. I'm in this video. I have a right to play it. Okay. Excuse me, guys. What I need to let you know is when I play this video, during the video, David plays videos. I'm not going to play those videos on YouTube because that's what got this video taken down off of YouTube in the first place. This video is up on Facebook and other platforms, just so you know. But without further ado, okay, turned off all of my notifications. I shut down everything on my computer, so this, I'm going to play it for you guys, and I'm going to be quiet in the background, and I'm going to join you in the chat room, and I hope that you enjoy this interview with David Arthur and Vicki Joy and myself. I hope I get this right. I'm going to try to be quiet in the background, okay? I'm not sure.
Hey, good evening. It's Dry Bones. Well, I got lost there for a minute. Sorry. I kind of forgot where I was, what we were doing. It's time for Dry Bones, y'all.
Woohoo!
And Vicki's here.
Hey, y'all.
So, for anybody that was wondering yesterday, Vicki was trying to figure out how to open up the studio to do the show. And so she clicked go live. And so there was about 6 minutes of her live looking at her laptop like the laptop was crazy because she didn't realize that she was live. So we took care of that, right? We did away with that. But just wanted you to know that, if anyone was wondering, Vicki is learning.
You know what that reminded me of, David? It reminded me of that YouTube video of the elderly couple who couldn't figure out the VHS camcorder. I thought I was better than that, but no. It's a learning process, but I'm excited to be learning. And I will tell you guys, as soon as I did log on, immediately there was a dozen people on, and that was wow, that's awesome that people would click over that quickly. So despite the fact that I looked a mess, I did feel loved. So thank you.
Amen. Yeah, it was kind of cool though, because we were just, remotely trying to get it going, and so she got it, but I made it home. And so give a real quick recap of my day while we wait and see if our guest, Holly, actually comes in. And we're waiting on Holly. So this morning, I drove down to Portland, Maine, about a 3.5, 4 hour drive. 3.5 hours. 4 hours, somewhere in there. Anyway. So I left early, drove down. I did a little video on the way down. And then, so I get to Portland, Maine. And when I went through there about 2 weeks ago, I went to speak at a home gathering, a home church gathering. And when I drove through, I couldn't believe how many homeless people I saw. Well, today it was even worse. There were hundreds of homeless people all over the streets of Portland, Maine, and it was crazy ridiculous. And so I did get to give some bag lunches out, and I sat down, had lunch with one couple, and got to talk to a few people. But let me say this, man, oh man, most of them are refugees. I don't know, and I don't really care right now what anybody's thoughts about refugees are, right? Because I say with opposition comes opportunity. If they're there, they're there. If they're not, they're not. But the police had to warn me. They said, if you see a group of homeless and you go to stop, he said, make sure whatever you're giving out, make sure you have enough for all of them. He said, because they will, if there's no police presence, they will flip your car. And I was like, what? He said, yeah. Lots of Somalis in Portland, Maine. Lots. Lots in Lewiston, Maine as well. They have basically... I'm not going to get into the whole political thing about refugees. Okay. So with that, I kind of packed it up in Portland a little early, and then I went down to Bangor, Maine. And did some bag lunches there. And since last week, we got one tent donation. I actually got out, gave this older man who had a walker, and he was sitting on at the bus stop, and I got out, gave him a bag lunch, and he was like, hey, you wouldn't know where I could get a tent, would you? And I was like, well, hallelujah. I actually have one tent in my car, and I gave him a tent, and it was really special because he kind of turned into a child, and he was like, wow, yay, I'm going camping. Like his whole character changed. It was like really special. And so I was just kind of wasting time and giving y'all the, what I did today. But we still have a lot of stuff to cover. Even if Holly don't show up. So, because really, Holly is a survivor of Pedogate, Pizzagate. And it's very real. That whole underworld kind of scenario, I guess you could call it, is very real. And, I'm not going to get into much detail about this right here, but I have seen, some dark stuff. Okay. Especially by way of like pornography being made and videos being made. I can't even call it pornography, just videos being made of stuff. And in the same house where some of this dark pornographic videos were being made, I remember walking into a room that had like red velvet curtains around the whole room on the inside, like around the wall. Had an altar in the middle, lots of candles. It was real spooky. It was real like vampire setting, movie setting to me, very satanic, right? I didn't know at the time what it was. I kind of made a joke of it, and I was like, "Ooh, spooky," And now I happen to know that it was probably a place where they did rituals, right? Or some kind of rituals or something. So with that said, we're going to share a few video clips and then we're going to talk about it. And we'll see if this is going to be some deep stuff, pretty graphic. So, hey, everybody, I'm not really reading the comments, but I did just see Sarah's practical things for handing out to the homeless. The only thing I do are sandwiches, snacks. I do a like a snack, like a good snack and a sweet snack. And so sweet, proteinish, healthy kind of, I don't even know what to call it right now. I'm beat. I'm exhausted. Okay. I walked today. And brown paper bags, like small ones, water, stuff like that. And tents. So those are the kind of things that I could use to continue doing what I'm doing. So there you go. When I got to Bangor, I was down by the waterfront and I was pulling out of one of the parking lots for the waterfront, and there was two guys on the corner. And so I was like, hey, you guys need a bag lunch? And so they said, yeah. So there was nobody behind me. So I just kind of jumped out and I opened up the back of the van and I'm giving them some bag lunches. So a lady was trying to turn in. These two women were trying to turn into the parking lot. And so they had to stop and wait, right? And so I was like, sorry, and gave them the lunches and some waters, and they went about their business. And she pulls up and she said, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it. Here you go. And she goes to hand me a lottery ticket. And I was like, oh, I don't play the lottery. I said, I don't gamble, but thank you anyway. And she's like, oh, here, take it. It's a winner. I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And so I put it in my pocket. And on the way home, I stopped at the store, cashed it in, and it was $100 winner. And so she gave it to me because she saw me out there doing that. And so that money will go towards more bag lunches. Brown bagging it. It's what we're calling it. There's a page on, or a group, whatever it's called. I think it's a group on Facebook through the ministry page or from the ministry page. There's a group on Facebook called Brown Bagging It. Anyway, so if you want to see what we're doing, kind of check it out. Oh, man. All right. Now I'm going to show some video clips. Hope y'all ready. Like I said, this is some.
Hang on. All right. So this is the parts I have to edit out. If you would like to see the video that I'm not playing right now, reach out to me. I can send you the links for this video that David Arthur has been playing on his channel. But because I am putting this video back up on YouTube, I am taking out the video that David Arthur plays so that I can still get David, Vicki, and my testimony up back on YouTube so everybody can watch it on this platform. So, without further ado, okay. I finally show up. Guys, I want to apologize. This is the first interview I ever did where I mixed up the day. I thought it was Wednesday evening, and it turned out that the interview was scheduled for Tuesday evening, so that was a mistake on my part, and I'm so embarrassed, and I'm so sorry that I came to this interview late, but I'm glad I showed up, and I'm glad I was here, and praise be to Yud-Hey Vav-Hey for Yeshua. So I'm going to shut up, and when there's a part that David plays these videos, I'm going to have to block out the video so I too don't get a copyright strike.
For anyone out there that knows Holly Baglio and who she is, you know that we could be in an interview with her through midnight because of all that she has endured. And so we're going to be bringing Holly back quite a few times, and we're going to break it down in piece by piece, so that we can cover the importance of each area that she was. I say, I don't know how you look at it, Holly, but I say, even with my life, I say that I was blessed to be able to endure what I endured, because for one, it kept somebody else from having to endure it. And for two, it's for such a time as this, right? And so that we can do what we do. And so I'm gonna bring Holly in. I'm not gonna jibber jabber that much. At least I'm trying not to. But Holly, you saw what we just saw. I'm sure you've seen that video before. No, okay. So she just really just puts it all out there. The Pizzagate, Pedogate, the Comet Pizza, all of it. And so I'm going to bring you in and let you give your testimony. Pedogate, Pizzagate victim being held, not being held, vowing to go back for others. And so come on in here. Thank you so much for joining us. And I love you so much. And so everybody here's how.
Oh, wow. I'm very humbled. And Vicki, it's nice to see you. I saw you at the International SRA conference, and forgiving me for being shy, but I did not introduce myself to you. I wish I had.
I know, me too.
And David, it's great to see you again, and thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I have really looked forward to this because it's a pretty heavy topic, and you're the only ministry out there that deals with these topics, and you have brought me, and excuse me for how I word things, but you brought me and my altars, my broken pieces, or my programmed parts, a lot of peace and a lot of help, because you talk about these issues of sexuality, and that's exactly what they attack when you're a child, is your innocence and your sexuality. So again, I'm sorry for my alerts. I wish I could turn them off. I deeply apologize. But you really helped me, so I'm glad that you allowed me this time. But forgive me for drawing blanks and the long hellos.
It's okay.
We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
No more apologies.
Okay.
The floor is yours at this moment.
So start me off in a direction. Pizzagate,
Pedogate, sex trafficking.
I got a lot of stories.
Mm.
Hey, it's on you. Let the Holy Spirit lead you and do what you do.
I have two stories, one about a monastery. And the first one I'll start off with is Pizzagate. I believe I'm a survivor of Pizzagate, Pedogate. I come from deep underground military bases, so I was born into these projects of MK Ultra and super soldier projects, all stemming from Operation Paperclip. I believe it was in Ronald Reagan's era, so to speak, during his presidency, as a time marker. Not him per se, but as a time marker in my life. I believe that I was not only programmed in Project Beta on how to have sex, but because of Project Beta and what that entailed, they would use kids from MAP projects in the DUMBs that I was exposed to and send them out to adult politicians. Project Beta, basically, just to get into that briefly, was, from my experience, the programmers, the white lab coats, they would watch you and tell you what to do and what sexual acts to perform and walk you through step by step what they wanted you to do sexually to another child that they were trafficking. Because then later on, once they trained you, then they would send you out on an assignment or mission, and excuse my terminology. But in Ronald Reagan's era, I believe I recall them sending a group of us children out to what I thought was Russia. And what I remember from that experience was the adults and all the children were naked and there were drugs. I know this because my memory is foggy, and in my memory I feel woozy. But I remember the older men, and I was a young child, so I must have been like, I think I was very young, before my teenage years or my early teenage years, in around that time period. And in this memory, they had a group of us kids and we were sent out. The politicians were naked, we were naked. And I remember them passing me around the room. And at the very end, the very last person I was in front of, this is going to sound totally terrible, but he had soft eyes and he was gentle with me. And he didn't really hurt me while he was doing what he was doing compared to everyone else. I have another memory. I'm not sure if it was Pizzagate. It could have been. But I remember one of the programmers bringing us children into a monastery. And this monastery was about 2 miles away from the house that I grew up in near Far Hills, New Jersey. And they brought us children into the monastery and they took off the hoods from our heads. And I was young at this time, so there were adult male and females. They began to get naked. Drugs were distributed to the children. Some of the adults took some of the children in another room. Some of the adults stayed in that room and commenced having sex, getting into orgies. I was taken out at that time from the room by the programmer or the handler, by the guy in charge of me. He took me out of the room, and involuntarily I was forced to be a part of a satanic ritual where I believe a dog and boy were sacrificed. But it's very confusing because we were forced to have sex with men and women. As children, young children before the age of 10, they would dress the girls up as boys and dress the boys up as girls and force us to have sexual relations with one another and switch roles. And also, from my fragmented memories, we had done a sacrifice during one of these events where they made us cross-dress and then forgive me if I'm using vulgar language. I don't mean to. So I'm not sure what I can tell you after that. It's difficult. Like, I know that I'm a girl and I have body parts of a female and I dress like a girl. But with some of my alters, they're male alters. And it's not that the male alters are bisexual, or I don't know what you'd say at that point. Well, it's not that they're bisexual or gay. I think that the altar was created because I didn't want to have to go through that, and to go through that sexual experience was so traumatizing and traumatic to me, to have sex with these older women, to be forced with these older men, that I disassociated. And so the male altars were formed to try to protect me and try to protect my sexuality. But they are alpha male alters, and they do carry those male alpha alter traits. And I can see that play out in my personal life.
So just real quick, for anybody who doesn't know, explain the difference okay, so we know that the altars are your kind of like protectors, right? Because we were blessed to go into the DID and the altars last week. You know, and it's still mind-boggling to me. But explain what an alpha male alter is, just for anybody that doesn't really understand it. Like, and
externally or internally? I'm sorry.
How about whatever you,
okay,
the best you can explain it for somebody that would say, well, what is the alpha?
Okay, the alpha, that's in charge, take dominance, take control of the situation.
Right.
Being in that authoritative, powerful role, dominant over another person. So that'll come out like in my private life. Internally, usually that alpha male and that bigger altar will take care of the smaller childlike altars and keep them protected. And instead of anybody in the outside world seeing that childlike altar, the alpha male altar will come forward to guard that child altar that's childlike, that's still stuck at the age of 3 or 4 or 7. Wow. If that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, Holly, did you see last week's show?
Yes, I love your show.
Perfect sense.
Okay, I'm glued to your shows. Oh, I love them, and I love your speakers. Makes perfect sense.
I'm going to show another video clip that has to do with Comet Pizza, Pizzagate, Pedogate, and I really want you to authenticate. There's so many people. I don't understand myself how there's so many people that wouldn't believe, that would say, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me. That's not real. That's just that's just made up. That's just a conspiracy. That's just a theory. That's just this. That's that." No, it's very real. And so when we approach the subject with people, it's so important that we explain like the smallest bits and pieces. Like last week, like some of the questions that were coming to my mind, I didn't want to feel like they were like dumb questions or like I was poking at Sarah or Lisa, but because I wasn't, but those were the kinds of questions that the average person, when I try to tell them about it, those are the kind of things that they say to me, you know? And so when we see videos like this that were put out there, it's important that people who have experienced it and been through it, you know, I mean, I honestly, I was probably a part of something that I didn't even know what I was a part of, just because of the things that I've seen, just because of the things that I've experienced, just because of the things that I've done. I probably took part in something I didn't even know what I was a part of. I probably didn't even know the people that I was involved with, just how deep they were into all of this, into SRA, into the sex trafficking and the underground, everything. So we're gonna show this clip, and then we're gonna talk about it.
When this appeared on HR,
I I don't sorry, not sorry. In Hollywood film, anything, you know, if you need to leave.
No, it's okay. You know, I would really like to talk about the whole Epstein thing, but I can't bring myself to do it, except to say that I don't believe he's dead. And I would really love to see his victims be served justice. And I do think that I have seen this video in the past, and it dropped me to my knees. So that's probably why I don't want to remember it now, but it definitely jogs a lot of memories I've had with what they've done. And it's home, and it's all true. And that's what I've experienced. I've seen kids be raped by these adults or these politicians, and snuffed out of existence. And I don't know why we're still alive and why we're here. Except, I mean, Yud He Vav He in Yeshua's name, by the grace of our one true living God and Creator, who died for our sins. It's only because of Him that we're here.
You know,
I'm
Holly,
sorry, Vicki.
oh my gosh, Holly,
I'm
you know, I spent several hours on your website today. Probably read 50 to 60% of your story, and I was telling Sarah in our live chat, I felt afterwards like I'd been drugged. Like I crashed for 2 hours. It took everything out of me. And I've heard these stories before. It's not like the first time you hear it, and you know, you had talked several times in your story about survivor's guilt. And here we sit, and it's not like I haven't had a real life full of sorrows. And, you know, I had a lot of trauma growing up and surgeries, and I didn't have this super easy, fun, you know, suburban life either. But I sit here with a whole nother level of survivor's guilt, because religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction. That's pure religion in the eyes of our Father. And so what am I doing? And what do we do? And, you know, this is timely because there's a whole level of the dark web right now saying that what's really going on right now is thousands of these kids are coming out of the dumps, and they're on Navy ships, and they're being treated, and it's going to be busted. But we became judicious all of a sudden. Where are these stories coming from, and why can we believe any of the, where can you speak to that story? Because you know that those dumps exist and that the kids are down there, and it seems like people are aware of it. What can we do?
Well, first we can pray, because that opens opportunities for Yud He Vav He to come through and work. Number one. But number two, I don't mean to upset anybody or debate anything, but in my humbled opinion, these stories that are coming out about children, I don't believe them at all. Number one, Heavenly Abba never led me to those sources that are putting out the stories. Also, I asked 10, 15 people from different backgrounds to send me their links, and they obliged me, and they were all the same links. Nobody had different sources than the ones that I even was looking into. I think that if they're collapsing dumps, that they're collapsing the evidence inside of them. I do not, in my humbled opinion, believe that any children are being rescued. If there are children being rescued, excuse me for sounding fantastical, but I believe these children have been mind controlled. They've been chipped, they're programmed, and they will be used in the future to, whether it's usher in martial law or literally be the troops for the Antichrist. That would be the only reason for them to save these children. Otherwise, I don't believe the story's coming out, and I want them to be true. I pray that they're true. But because of my personal experience, I don't believe them to be true, because they let me go. Nobody came to rescue me. There's no way into a dump unless you already have access, from my understanding. Nobody's getting in there. They let me go. They let me go from the dumps. I mean, I escaped, but every time I escaped, they brought me back in. So they let me go. So that's why I find these stories hard to believe. I'm sorry to be a pessimist. But
no, I am too. That's why I asked. And the reason I'm a pessimist, it's not because I don't have faith in Yahweh and that I don't think he can roll up his sleeves and knock Baal on his butt. It's not that. But we live in an evil planet ruled by, it's the footstool of the enemy. And I would love to believe that justice is reigning all of a sudden out of nowhere. But what do we do as believers so that the blood of these kids are not on our hands? I mean, how do we just sit up here up ground living these rich lives and not have that blood on our hands? What do we do?
I have the same questions. I feel the same exact way. I pay or have paid my taxes. I don't know what to do except if you find a victim, to help them become a survivor. But I have got no idea, because I think the same things and I come up against the exact same obstacles, and I don't have an answer.
Yeah. Oh, well, and I suppose that's part of the enemy's plan, is to just make all of us collectively resolute in believing, well, there's nothing that we can do, so we all just kind of collectively give up. And I just yesterday, I think it was, Sarah and I and a couple of friends we were studying the book of Hebrews, and it was 11 yesterday. And there's a list in the middle of Hebrews 11 of all of the things that people who live by faith can achieve, conquering kingdoms and overcoming evil, and this wish list. And yet, not only is it not happening, but even the list of the saints who accomplished all that died before seeing the promise. And so it's this amazing verse full of this like list of all that we can conquer, and then it's a list of all the saints who died not seeing it. So I don't even know where to sit in that paradox.
I can understand, but I have to say, for the record, I do not like the Rothschild family at all. They have a lot to do with it. I would love to see them dethroned. And there's more of us survivors and victims than there are of them. And I would really love to dismantle their establishments and their kingdoms. And I would really like to see them dethroned, to be honest. But until the rest of the population wakes up and realizes that, hey, they have to do something too, I think it leaves people like you and I here kind of holding the ball,
Yeah.
I want everyone to understand something, and forgive me for not I get to the point where I don't want to say another word, or someone asked me, why would Yahweh let this happen? Well, I just want everyone to understand something too, because a lot of people, if somebody that didn't know Yah right now, listen to some of our comments, they'd say, well, why would he let it happen? So I want everybody to understand that this Yahweh is all powerful, but he's not in control. Yahweh relinquished control of this world. Yeah, he can turn things around for his good, but he relinquished control of this world to the enemy. He's the God of this world, the Prince of the air. He is what we're faced with daily. The reason that's so important for us to understand is because I hear some people say they have survivor's guilt. And I halfway understand that. The reason it's halfway because I have survivor's guilt. But my survivor's guilt is different. Because my survivor's guilt my survivor's guilt is the fact that I committed some of these things against children. And sometimes I don't understand why. I survived that. Sometimes I don't understand how something so ugly could be inside of me. And that's the survivor's guilt that I recognize. So forgive me for not talking that much. But
You're forgiven, and we love you, David.
I know.
So you know, you're a new creature, creation and creature in Yeshua's name. You don't let that get to you. You can't.
But it does.
You know, it's interesting though. When you look at the world and you look at man and what they prize and what they value, you look at what governments look for when they're looking for power, when they're building a corporation or a military, they're looking for a certain kind of strength. And you look at God's people, the people that Yahweh's putting together, that he's always put together, whether it was, you know, the disciples surrounding Yeshua or what we all have in common, other than Christ, is we're broken. The most broken people are the best suited to truly understand grace and to truly understand mercy and to truly not be self-sufficient and prideful. And there's just, I don't want to say that we stay in our brokenness. Don't hear me saying that there's value in being shattered. We are, you know, like Holly said, are a new creation, but you know, the scars that are left behind, you know, for you guys, your scars of the battle victories you had are here, and mine show all over my face. I'm proud of these scars. I had everything thrown at me. The enemy is trying to sift us like wheat, trying to bring us down. These are our purple hearts, you guys. We don't ever want to forget what brought us here. We are not ashamed of our brokenness.
Amen.
And so it becomes a part of who we are. It becomes that place alone at night where we just crawl up into Yeshua's arms and we trust him to heal it. But we're not ashamed of what broke us, because it's when we're weak, he makes us strong. We can't. Yahweh is not looking for self-sufficient super soldiers. The way Yahweh is building his army of super soldiers looks a lot different.
Amen.
We are broken, dependent people, and that's why we're strong. We're not ashamed of our brokenness.
I have guilt because whether I was forced or not, I had to do a lot of bad things. And so I guess there's a lot of different forms of guilt, but it's really hard to come to terms with, you know, especially remembering the satanic sacrifices and whatnot and all the other children that died, and we were forced to be a part of it and do those same exact things. So.
But I don't want to end on this note.
No.
Praise Yah.
Well, We can end on Romans. All things, Holly. All things work together for good for those who love him and have been called according to his purpose. And that doesn't make sense in our mind, and all things. And he'll make all things new.
Amen.
And it's time.
Selah.
Amen. Holly, you've been used so powerfully in more ways than you even know. And everything you said to me in the beginning for this ministry, I could say to you, because you have you've helped me more than you know. And I love you.
Oh, I love you, David. You don't know how much you have helped me. You've got no idea. Praise be to Abba for Yeshua. Praise be to Abba that he gave me you, David. And Vicki, I am so honored and humbled to finally have the pleasure of meeting you, sweetheart. Thank you so much for your testimony and the shows that you've done, or the show that you did recently with Thomas Dunn.
Absolutely.
You're
Holly, I'm just encouraged, by what you said, because everyone in this live chat and everyone who follows Russ and Tom, we believe your testimony and the testimonies of the people like you. We believe, and we have a desire to have pure religion that helps these children in distress. And so when you said, find a survivor and help them survive, that's square one. Everybody who's listening, we might not be able to, strap on the bulletproof vest and get our, heavy artillery and go down and collapse domes and all these things that we dream about because we watch too many movies. But I'll bet you if we all prayed and asked for a Holly to come into our life that we could befriend and love and pray with and help, I will bet you that is a prayer that would get answered. And, you multiply the 100 or so people that are going to watch this video, that's 100 people out of the underground that you can share the light with. So pray that Yahweh brings you that person and that you will be faithful. Not every friend we have has to be the one that flatters us and tells us our hair looks great and that we're wonderful and we're smart. Some people require more attention and more love, and we have to stop. We've been sheltering in place as a church for 50 years, sitting in our comfortable little pews and playing church, and it is a crime. We got to knock it off. We got to find the people that are broken, and we got to walk with them through the entire journey. We don't give up on people. No, what do they say in the military? No, we don't leave our comrades bleeding on the field.
Right.
No one left behind. You're amazing, Vicki. You're absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have so much more to talk about, Holly. I have so many.
I welcome that.
After reading your website, we've got a lot in common, my fellow poet.
Yay. Oh, really? Oh, I can't wait. I welcome it.
Amen. Hey, thank you.
Oh, thank you, David, and thank you, Vicki. I love you both so much. You
love
guys
you
are amazing to me. You're one of my favorite ministries, David. I'm going to admit that now. You're one of my favorites. I'll tell you that. You're on. I'm there. I'm sorry I should have played tonight. I got the dates confused, so forgive me.
No worries. No worries.
No more of that. Wow. Find the survivors and help them survive. And I bet you that every single person that hears these words coming out of my mouth, whether it's live or pre-recorded, you know more victims than you think you know.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And maybe it's time to start reaching out to those people who are broken and hurting and messing up, and you know, usually the ones that disappoint you the most need you the most
Mm,
and are the most broken. So
yep.
let's start reaching
And,
out and let's start
and there,
touching lives, because that's what we're supposed to do. You know, I started this day off with the same message. We are Yah's people,
mm-hmm,
and if it's going to get done, it's going to get done because we do it.
mm-hmm,
If He dwells within us,
mm-hmm. And just a
He
reminder.
wills, and we are the ones that have to do His will. Because if we don't do it, He's not dwelling in the lost. He's not dwelling in the ones that don't know Him. He's dwelling in His own. If we don't do His will, nobody else is going to do it. And He wills that all men be saved.
Mm-hmm.
Selah.
Amen.
Amen.
And
Go ahead, Vicki.
just a word that when these people come into our lives, they're people, they're not projects. And
Amen.
so treat them like a friend, not a project. This isn't something to go to your
Establish a
small group and
relationship.
brag about.
That's right.
Okay, this isn't getting you a Girl Scout badge. These are people. They're not
Right.
projects.
Amen.
Selah.
Establish a real relationship with them.
Yeah.
Selah.
Right.
Selah.
Wow.
Beautifully said.
I
Wow.
was going to go on all night, but we can't. So I don't know.
Sorry.
Kids.
I know. Next time.
Next time,
Yeah.
I'll have a marathon.
Yeah.
Everybody,
Right.
we're definitely going to have
It's
Holly
no-
back, because there's so much more.
Mhm.
Holly, I'm gonna send you. Well, you know, we'll talk after I close the show. Thank you guys. I love you guys. I appreciate all of you so much. I can't even begin to express how I feel. Thank you.
Mm.
Peace.
Thanks, everybody.